morning, friends, and welcome to Miss Lynn's Story Corner. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. We're all in our places with bright smiling faces. And this is the way we start our new day. Oobla Lortek. Well, friends, I have been at home a lot lately, and I think you probably have too. A lot of people have. And I would like you to stop and think what a special place your home really is. It's full of some of your favorite things, some of your favorite people. You eat some of your favorite food there. You do some of your favorite things. All right, I'm going to read to you a book about a child who thinks their home is special too, and is going to share some of the special things they love about their home. This book today is called When I Was Young in the Mountains. It was written by Cynthia Rylant, illustrated by Diane Good, and it won a Caldecott Honor Medal right here, you can see it, for the pictures. So as I read, I would like you to listen to some of the words repeat and be thinking of that. And think about what makes your home special and where your home is. When I Was Young in the Mountains by Cynthia Rylant. When I was young in the mountains. And there is a house in some frosty tree branches there. Can you see the tree branches are here and the house is here? It's a little bit difficult to see that, but it looks almost like a wintry picture, looking through the trees to the house. And on this page, which says, For my grandparents, it shows the lantern that they used in the house. It's kind of a old-fashioned candle type of a lantern. And there's coffee and tea and a flower. This house must not have electric lights, no switches to turn on the light. When I was young in the mountains, grandfather came home in the evenings, covered with the black dust of a coal mine. Only his lips were clean, and he used them to kiss the top of my head. His grandfather, all dark with coal dust, kissing the girl, and the boy's waiting for a kiss too, but he's holding a pitcher of water so that grandfather can clean up. I don't think this house has running water either, so they have to go pump the water into a pail and then pour the pail on your body, your hands and your face to get clean. When I was young in the mountains, grandmother spread the table with hot cornbread, pinto beans, and fried okra. And this is the candle lamp, another kind of candle lamp, shining down on the family eating together. Pinto beans and okra, she loved those things. You can tell here because she has many servings. Later, in the middle of the night, she would walk me through the grass to the Johnny house. That's the outhouse, because the bathroom wasn't in this house. It was like a place where you had to go behind the house in a little tiny house of its own where just the toilet is, only it's not a flush toilet. It's just like a toilet seat with a hole, and then you have to just kind of go there. She walked through the grass with me to the Johnny house and held my hand in the dark. I promised never to eat more than one serving of okra again. There they are. See, this is the outhouse where the bathroom is. And it's night out and they had to go outside to reach the bathroom. And Grandma's holding a candle and going with her granddaughter. When I was young in the mountains, we walked across the cow pasture and through the woods carrying our towels. The swimming hole was dark and muddy, and we sometimes saw snakes, but we jumped in anyway. They must be the kind of snakes that don't hurt people. There they are swimming. Not in a swimming pool, but in a pond. And if there's snakes in the water, just jump in anyway. Did you know that some snakes can swim too? They kind of slither along the top of the water. On our way home, we stopped at Mr. Crawford's for a mound of white butter. Mr. Crawford and Mrs. Crawford looked alike, and they always smelled of sweet milk. They run the little store, and the kids are stopping home to get the butter. What are they going to do with butter? When I was young in the mountains, we pumped pails full of water from the well. At the bottom of the hill is where the well was, and we would heat the water back in the house to fill round tin tubs for our bath. So remember, I was telling you that this house does not have running water. Instead, it has a pump, and you have to pump the handle so that the water can come up and finally pour out into a bucket. And this is not in the house. It's outside the house too. So if you needed water, you have to go outside to pump it and then bring it in. And those children are pumping the water. Lots of times it would be the job of the kids to fill up water buckets for the house. So if you live during these times, you might have to go get water to bring into the house so everybody can use it when they needed it. Afterwards, we stood in front of the old black stove, shivering and giggling while Grandmother heated cocoa on top. Looks like they've just had a bath. And here is their bathtub. And they'd pour the water in. And then after the bath, they would have cocoa on this wood stove. The stove is not the kind you turn on. It's the kind you have to build a fire in. And that's what makes the stove hot, so you can heat water for your bath and milk for your cocoa. When I was young in the mountains, we went to church in the schoolhouse on Sundays and sometimes walked with the congregation, the people of the church, through the cow pasture to the dark swimming hole for baptisms. Part of church. And there they are. This is really the schoolhouse. So if you went to school in this place, this is what the schoolhouse would look like. And then when it wasn't school time on Sunday, you would go there for church too. See, everybody's dressed up in their best clothes, going to church. And sometimes at church there'd be a baptism, which means you get dipped in the water. My cousin Peter was laid back into the water, and his white shirt stuck to him, and my grandmother cried with happiness. It's a happy thing, this part of the church service, to be baptized. There they are, standing in the water, getting dipped. Is Grandma crying in that picture, crying with happiness? When I was young in the mountains, we listened to frogs in the dark, and we awoke to cowbells outside our window in the morning. Sometimes a black snake came into the yard, and my grandmother would threaten it with a garden hoe. A hoe is something you would work in the garden with. So it looks like Grandmother was out working in the garden, and along came a snake. And see, there's her hoe. And it must not be a good kind of snake, because she is chasing it away. And maybe she's going to kill it. And here the children are up here watching where it's safe in the window of the house. See that? That must be where their bedroom is. If it did not leave the garden, Grandmother used the hoe to kill the snake. 4 of us once draped a very long snake, that was dead of course, across our necks for a photograph. So there they are. That must be a snake that did not leave Grandmother's garden, and so she killed it with a hoe. And then the kids posed with it for a photograph. Look at the camera. That man is behind a cloth, and it's a big camera. That's how they used to be before they were so small. We had them on our cell phones. And those kids are smiling with that dead snake over their shoulders. Makes a good picture. When I was young in the mountains, we sat on the porch swing in the evenings, and Grandfather sharpened my pencils with his pocket knife. Didn't have a pencil sharpener, had to use a little knife to sharpen the pencils. Grandmother sometimes shelled beans, and sometimes she braided my hair. The dogs lay around us, and the stars sparkled in the sky, and a bobwhite bird whistled in the forest. Bob, bob, bobwhite, bob, bob, bobwhite. That's what they sound like. So that's probably how it got its name, because it sounds like it's saying bob, bob, bobwhite. Oh, bobwhite. Oh, the evenings are warm in this place. Maybe it's summertime. Grandmother might be shelling peas. That means she's taking the peas out of the pea pods so that she could cook them later for dinner. And it looks like Grandfather has his knife out and he's sharpening pencils. When I was young in the mountains, I never wanted to go to the ocean, and I never wanted to go to the desert. I never wanted to go anywhere else in the world, for I was in the mountains, and that was always enough. She's very happy in her home, happy to live in the mountains. There she is on the steps with a book, just looking up from her book and saying, I love home. Home is a special place for this girl. And I was wondering if maybe you would like to think about your home and make your own book. Do you remember the words that I said over and over again on lots of the pages? Started off with what? When I was young in the mountains. When I was young in the mountains, we would go to church in the schoolhouse. When I was young in the mountains, we would swim in the cow pond. When I was young in the mountains, what else does she do? Be thinking about your place. Now, where do you live? Do you live in the mountains? You're young right now, and maybe you're when I was young in Pullman, or when I was young in the wheat fields, or when I was young in the Palouse. This area you live in is special too, with hills and trees and the wheat. Think of the things you do while you're living here. Maybe you would like to make a book. Now, I made this book when I was young. I lived on a place called Bainbridge Island, and it's an island with water all around it. And I wrote here, when I was young on Bainbridge Island. Your book might be called When I Was Young in Pullman, or When I Was Young in the Wheat Fields, whatever you'd like to say. When I was young in the hills, because we do have lots of hills around here too. So you can think about what you want to call your book. Down here I have name, but I'm going to write my name, Ms. Lynn, because I'm the author and the illustrator of this book. And we've been talking a little bit about both. So you could write your name as the author and the illustrator. All right? And then you'll see on the inside, I have different pages, and all it is some paper stapled together. I have 1, 2, 3 papers, and I stapled them right in the middle so they open up like a book. And on the inside, this is the title. This is the title page, When I Was Young on Bainbridge Island by Ms. Lynn. Then I did pictures, and I said, here, this is how it starts off. When I was young on Bainbridge Island, I have my 2 sisters and I played on the beach. And there is a picture I drew, and it doesn't have to be fancy. These are basically people with arms and legs and a body that's just a line, and then I drew some clothes on them. And there's a picture of my sisters and me, because there were 3 of us girls living on the island. And this is a sand castle, and here's the sand and the sun, and look, I did the water. When I was young on Bainbridge Island, my 2 sisters and I played on the beach. And then you could turn the page. And on this next page, it also says, when I was young on Bainbridge Island, and then I would do another picture and something else about Bainbridge Island. Something over here, when I was young on Bainbridge Island. What else did we do on Bainbridge Island? You can be thinking about your home and the things you do. You can find a few things to write or draw about your home. And then on the back, I also wrote about the author. Who's the author? Me. Who's the author of your book? You. Tell us something about yourself. I might say, Miss Lynn is a teacher at Montessori of Pullman. She loves to teach school. She has a dog named Jenny. She has a rabbit named Fernando. What would you write about yourself? Well, friends, it was good sharing a story with you. I would love to know how your books turn out. And thank you for listening to When I Was Young in the Mountain by Cynthia Rylant. Well, it's time for us to say goodbye. So first I want you to wrap your arms around yourself and give yourself a hug from me. If I could reach right in there and give you a hug, it would feel like this. And maybe this is a hug back from you. All right, friends. Now it's time to say goodbye, say goodbye, say goodbye. Now it's time to say goodbye. See you later. Bye, friends. Have fun writing your story.